Hi guys, Rafael Marcolino here, and welcome to Sapiens every week with a new drum lesson for you. Today we're going to talk about single strokes between your hands and feet. And I think this is a very cool coordination exercise. Many drummers don't pay attention to the importance of playing rudiments between hands and feet. It's pretty obvious when we start playing the drums that we have to create this coordination between our hands, and usually if you play with a double pedal or two kick drums, that's also obvious to play between your feet. But when you think about playing single strokes between hands and feet, sometimes the application of that is not really obvious. I know many of you probably already do those exercises, and maybe some of you are really fast in doing those single strokes, but I'd like to bring some ideas on how to develop that as a coordination exercise and how to use that in a groove context. Because sometimes we play some stuff inside grooves that we don't actually understand the mechanics of it. And I've had many students that had some trouble on learning some grooves, and at some point I started understanding that by playing single strokes between hands and feet, they could play those grooves much better. So I'm gonna explain to you this vision of how to apply those single strokes between your hands and feet inside a groove. So at first I'm gonna show you some exercises to develop that, and then I'm gonna show you those groove examples. So the first exercise is gonna be playing those single strokes in 16th notes, and I'm gonna start with my right hand and my right foot because it's my kick drum foot, and I'm gonna play 16th notes throughout beats 1, 2, and 3. And on beat 4, I'm gonna play just the downbeat with my hand, and I'm gonna wait to start it all over on beat 1 on the next bar, because I always like to bring those exercises to at least both hands. If you play a single pedal, you have to keep your exercise with your kick drum foot. You could also use the left foot on the hi-hat, but I think it's easier at first to understand how it sounds using the kick drum. So I'm gonna play one bar of the exercise with my right hand and one bar of the exercise with my left hand. And if you never tried to play that before, if you tried to play the whole bar of 16th notes and try to play that without stopping, that could be really hard in the beginning. So I like to use this rest at the 4th beat of each bar to breathe and to keep this leading hand change a little bit easier at first. So here it is, exercise number 1. And as I said, you could try to play it using your left foot, and I really recommend that if you play with two kick drums or with a double pedal to develop your weak foot. So I'm gonna show the same exercise but playing with my left foot on my double pedal. So after you get used to this exercise and to this single strokes between hands and feet in terms of coordination, you should try to play the whole bar with 16th notes, but I really like to do this with both hands. So now I'm gonna play the whole bar of 16th notes, but I'm still change the hand that I'm playing in each bar. And you could also orchestrate your hands using different pieces of the kit. So I'm gonna show you now a very cool way that I like to play those exercises, that is using the toms and the snare to create a movement with my hands and my arms. So now instead of playing one bar with each hand, I'm gonna play 2 bars with each hand, and half of each bar I'm gonna play in a different drum. So I'm gonna start with my right hand, playing beats 1 and 2 on the snare drum, then beats 3 and 4 on the first rack tom, then on the second bar, beats 1 and 2 on the second rack tom, and beats 3 and 4 on the floor tom. And when it comes to the left hand, I like to do the opposite motion. So I'm going to start on the snare, then go to the floor tom, to the second tom, to the first tom. So as I said, 2 bars with each hand doing these different motions over the toms. Obviously, those exercises are more to get used to this way of playing, alternating hands and feet. Now, I'm gonna show you how this can be applied to the groove. And probably you played those groove variations in many different ways, but maybe you never noticed that you were playing single strokes between your hand and your foot. So our first example is gonna be a very simple groove. We're gonna play 8th notes with the right hand on the hi-hat or on the right cymbal. And we're gonna play the backbeats on 2 and 4. We're gonna start by playing the kick drum on beat 1. And on beat 3, we're gonna play 16th notes, single strokes, alternating your right hand and your kick drum foot. So we are not gonna change anything about the right hand because we are already playing 8th notes. And when we play 16th notes alternating the right hand with the foot, we are playing the downbeat and the end of the beat with the right hand. So we're gonna keep the same motion with our right hand, but we're gonna add the kick drum between those notes on beat 3. So if you look just to beat 3, you're gonna see single strokes played by the hi-hat and the kick drum in 16th notes. And that's really cool because that's really common to be put in grooves, this kind of kick drum alternating with the hi-hat. But when you notice that this is a single stroke between your hand and your foot and you are working on that in different ways, you will probably play these kind of grooves in a really more precise way. So here's our first groove example using single strokes between your hand and your foot. And you can make those single stroke moments longer inside these grooves. So our second example is gonna be the same thing, 8th notes with our right hand, backbeat on 2 and 4, but we're gonna start by playing the kick drum on beat 1 and the end of 1, just to do a contrast between the first part of the groove, playing the kick drum together with the hi-hat, and the second part of the groove that we're gonna alternate the kick drum with the hi-hat. And this time we're gonna play 1.5 beats of 16th notes. So we're gonna start our single stroke on the end of 2. So we're gonna play the kick drum between the end of 2 and beat 3, and we're gonna keep those single strokes going throughout beat 3. And the rest of the groove goes the same with the backbeat on beat 4. Check it out. And now we're gonna take the idea of the first exercise that we played, but we're gonna do that in a groove context. So instead of playing 16th notes between the right hand and the right foot using the snare drum, we're gonna do that with the hi-hat. That actually means that we're playing 8th notes with our right hand. And we're gonna do as we did with the first example. We're gonna stop that on beat 4. But we're gonna play with our left hand the backbeats on beats 2 and 4. So we are taking that first exercise and we are turning that into a groove by changing the right hand from the snare to the hi-hat and playing the backbeats with our left hand. But there is also one more slightly change, that we are gonna play the end of 4 with our right hand as well. We were not doing that in the first exercise, just to keep the 8th notes going on on the hi-hat or on the ride cymbal. Check it out. And as I always like to do, I like to show you those examples in a more musical context. So I think that happens by using this last example, alternating with another groove example. So I'm gonna take those last two groove examples that I showed you, and I'm gonna create a 2-bar groove by combining those two. And I'm also gonna play that in a faster tempo for you to understand how this groove sounds by playing it faster. I hope you liked those ideas. I hope this gives you more ideas, or it makes you more able to recognize those patterns inside grooves or in a different context. And that helps a lot for you to play those in a more precise way. If you already like to play single strokes between your hands and feet in a different way, please post on the comments. I love to hear how you guys apply those concepts in your playing. And don't forget that if you want to receive transcriptions of every exercise I show here on the lessons, go to subscribe.drummosapiens.com and you receive everything weekly on your email. I see you on the next lesson.